Hey! Melly, it's spilling all over the studio.
Yeah,
Stephen, there we go.
Mind the equipment here. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Lovely stuff, lovely stuff.
Cheers,
Here we go.
To the king of the cinch.
The champions. Welcome to 20 Minute Tips. We are the champions again, and we've got Rangers next week. Stephen, Melly, how does that feel? Back-to-back title winners.
Oh, tremendous. A lovely one. We all heard the Ange's second season will be even better. We're in the midst of it, and it's pretty good, lads. It's pretty good.
Turns out they weren't just talking a load of old pish about how Ange gets better in the second season. What a third season could bring, who knows? But this is all about...
That is the question, because this level of improvement is surely impossible.
Who knows? I've learned now to not doubt the man. Simply just don't doubt the man and just get along. Just enjoy the ride while it's happening. So how do I feel about another title win? We're often accused, as Celtic fans, often erroneously accused of, you must get bored of this, it's just relentless success. Never, ever. Again, I urge people to try it before they write it off. Don't knock it until you've tried relentless success. This feels every bit as good as it. We were talking yesterday on our live reaction to clinching the title, and we spoke about how this is the 7th title in the lifespan of this podcast. 8 years we've been going, this is the 8th season, and we never get bored of it. We're always just as giddy to run to the mics, to run to the video live streaming immediately after having clinched the title. It's a great feeling. I reject wholeheartedly any notion that we're bored of this.
Melly, wind back a couple of years, how many points behind Rangers did the league end up finishing? I mean, that's
25 or something.
I stopped counting. I mean, we've gone from, I know Dave King, Rangers, whatever he is, busybody at the moment. Whatever he does is he just appears in the press and says things that Rangers fans want to hear. But I remember that famous headline from him: one title and Celtic will crumble like a house of cards. 25 points some years ago. Fast forward the clock 2 seasons and we're back on the verge of another treble.
Yeah, it could be a treble, so we could be looking at, say, 5 trophies out of 6 since Ange came in. Incredible from Celtic, incredible from Ange. The consistency, the relentlessness that we show every week. You get to beat Rangers, then the following week beat Hearts to clinch the title, and we could go and beat Rangers next week. We're in the good old days, lads.
Aye, enjoy it. Always an extra wee bit of flavour to clinch it at Tynecastle. We spoke about this, not to burn all our material from the live stream that we did. But it goes clinch at Ibrox, clinch at Tynecastle, and then quite a long way down Celtic Park. Yes. There's always that extra bit of spice when you get to do it at one of your bitter rivals.
You want to clinch it in front of people that are going to be absolutely spewing about it.
Of course you do. It doesn't matter about the trophy. That's a distant second as well. Just being able to clinch it at one of these grounds is the best.
There's been a lot of talk about this league title, and a lot of people are like just rewinding the clock back to when Ange first arrived. They're saying, what a job Ange has done since he first arrived. And I thought, whilst that's correct, you can just look at this season and think what a job he's done, because in the summer, we did make some signings this summer. We made a lot of signings this summer, but there was no major surgery. All the hard work and the hard graft seemed to be done as far as the squad was concerned there. In the summer, minor tweaks. But this season has just been some of the best football we've ever seen. Last season, he was finding his feet and he was trying to work it out, and there was a bit of patchy form here and there. But this season, we're not going to do a season review on this episode, incidentally, but we're just talking about our initial thoughts. Some of the best football we've seen. Some absolutely quality players, some great results, the Champions League, and you just think to yourself, if that was the rebuild, Ange's first season was a rebuild, this is in many ways, this is his first proper go at it. This is like, imagine the rebuild never needed to take place and Ange just left. Ange just came in after, say, Brendan Rodgers left normally. In the normal sequence of events, you bring a manager in, and the rebuild never happened. This would just be his first proper go at it. And it's unbelievable.
Pissed it, lads. Absolutely squished it. Look, this is I don't want to say Rangers are a good team, but we've spoken how many times about how poor the rest of the league is. Rangers have got a lot of points, so for Celtic to have dropped points in 3 games this season and to only clinch it now just shows that we were brilliant, but just dropping points in 3 games so far is scandalous. It's a scandalous amount of games to be looking at and going, we could have done better there. Celtic have been brilliant this season. You said about the football, it is the best I've seen from Celtic. We talk about Tommy Burns, but I don't know if nostalgia plays a big part in that. Martin O'Neill's team were great, but this is the best footballing team I've seen at Celtic. It's tremendous to watch, and yes, we might be in the midst of it now, but nostalgia plays a lot of parts when you look back on teams, but by far the best team we've seen.
Well, I know you pulled back there from praising Rangers, and we're never going to actually do that on this podcast for obvious reasons. But
they played the part.
Because they're rubbish.
That is. But any grudging praise or respect that we do pay to them is only appropriate because it enhances what Celtic have achieved this season against.
I will never pay them any respect.
No, not so much against the odds, but you look at what happened. Like yes, the rebuild took place last season. Managed to sign Jota and Carter Vickers, who were two massive signings. But according to them, we were standing still, having spent 12 million to stand still. But you look at the actual full context of it. They were in a European final just last season. Then they had this. The guy who took them to a European final, plus he'd won leagues in other countries, Giovanni van Bronckhorst, they had to jettison him. But from there, they brought the old band back together. They brought back the genius behind 55 and all that. So, I know. We hear about quite a lot about that recently as well, because that's sort
You need to be careful when you're calling yourself the brains behind Steven Gerrard. A man when asked, would you take 7 figures, or what did he say? Would you take? Was it 8 figures? What was it they put it to him?
He said, "You tell me." You're the one asking. Again, fundamentally not how questions and answers work.
Well, 8 figures. He goes, what? 8 figures? What? £1 million? Or what's that? You're the brains behind him, are you? Wow,
incredible. But all that on paper should mean that Rangers are in a strong position. But Celtic have just gone out and blown Rangers away again this season and clinched the league one game after the split, despite the fact that they've been talking about up this form. They went on this run under Beale, undefeated for ages, until Celtic got a hold of them several times now. Yeah. And Celtic have just stormed yet again to another title.
How's Serie B looking?
Serie B, that's we are still ahead in that. As far they can still win it,
right?
But Celtic need to put them to the sword now.
So it's still all to play for in Serie B.
Yeah, League 1.
There's another one.
So Rangers should have been in a good position this season, and in many ways they were. They've, as Melly, you said, they've got a lot of points this season.
But it's a lot of money in the summer as well.
But it's not good enough. It's not good enough
Melly
to compete.
said piss and spunk on this podcast. Enough, Melly.
Yeah, that's your quota. That's your quota used up already. But Celtic have just blown them away. Whatever points total they managed to get this season might be very good for them, but it wasn't enough to even come close to winning the title.
And that's the thing. I mean, we've got how many games left? 4 games left? 4 games left, and there's still a points record to play for.
Yeah, we can overtake Brendan Rodgers by a point if we get there. Won't be quite the invincible. It's going to be a tough ask, but go out there next week and get a victory. We're on for it. I think you'd really like to see this team do it. You'd like to see them make their own bit of history. Trebles have sort of become the norm, so just to take this team past something, and we want Ange to be put on a higher level than Brendan Rodgers, don't we? So that would be nice.
We all like him a bit better than Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah.
You were at obviously the scenes carried on when Celtic won the title. The scenes carried on at Celtic Park. You were there, Melly. Jubilant. Was it good?
Oh, it was great. I was different from last season. Last season, clinching it midweek was great. Heading back and the darkness and the fireworks going off, but more people there this year. I think everybody sort of got the memo after last year, and it's great because we're standing there, and I thought they started this. They started this with their nonsense, and now all they're going to see is this. We've seen it last season when we went straight to Celtic Park. Then on Trophy Day, Merchant City was calling. It'll be the same again this year. We had yesterday, and when we get that trophy, and potentially another one when if we go on and win the treble. So great to see. Not quite Naples, but close.
Did you wreck anything? Piss in any statues or tear up any park benches? At the end of that?
I saw a picture of Melly, Stephen. He had 2 flags.
That's right.
He'd absolutely lost his mind, holding 2 flags. I saw a lot of the stuff with the fireworks, and I thought, quite funny, Celtic. You need to be careful here, don't you? Because you can't go. You need to stop with that pyro. But as soon as the pyro starts, and Celtic are look how good this looks. Well, you need to make your mind up on that.
Seen some guy out the back when I got home. 2 flags up in the back garden, smoke bombs going off. It was me.
Did you let a smoke bomb off?
The neighbours had stuff up for the coronation, so I had to retaliate.
Melly standing shirtless in his back garden with 2 flares, like something apocalypse now.
like Nicolas Cage at the end of The Rock. There's a reference for the teenagers.
They had Ange on the mic again, and I've kind of figured out why this is uncomfortable for me and why it's uncomfortable for Ange, because they made Ange do a speech last season as well, didn't he? On Flag Days, he gave his speech and all that sort of stuff, and the crowd went nuts. And I think the reason why I kind of don't like it is because Ange is a very sincere guy. He's got Ange's quality, in many ways, Ange's quality is his sincerity.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But when he's sort of thrust on stage to do these speeches, it kind of makes him feel uncomfortable. Now he always pulls it off. And he's, he's pulled so many catchphrases. We don't stop. Absolutely brilliant. Last year we'll come back bigger and stronger because that's what we do. Proved right.
Yeah.
And then that just champions again, and then everyone goes tonto. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and he spoke very well after the game as well.
Oh, yeah.
Getting a little bit emotional, talking about the support he's received from the fans and his family and all the sacrifices that have been made for him to get to this position. So, yeah, just thoroughly enjoyable. I thought
I was going to cry. It's like seeing your own dad cry.
I know. It's not something any of us want to see, but it's. I felt very proud of him. I felt very proud of the manager, the club, the fans. I get swept up in the occasion as well. So it was just thoroughly enjoyable. Again, just nonsense that we could ever become bored of this. Just take a look at the celebrations and judge for yourselves.
It's the manager as well, Mel. I mean, we are. Just like the whole team, as the support, we're all right behind this guy. We would follow Ange Postecoglou into battle.
Oh, we definitely would, and the players do as well. It's not we spoke about it a lot. It's not the style of player, and if it's the culture he's built here, Joe Hart spoke about it after the game as well, saying, look, we come in here to improve as footballers, but not just footballers, as people as well. So that's the kind of culture we are building here, and it's brilliant, man. I just think if Ange Postecoglou's here, Celtic are going to win the league. So long may it continue. I think the guy is just perfect for Celtic. Like we speak about Joe Hart being the perfect goalkeeper at the time for Celtic, Ange Postecoglou's been the perfect manager for Celtic. Couldn't get him the better for us. The style of football is tremendous. The players he brings in is tremendous. The way he can galvanise the whole support, and he does have that sincerity that you had that doubt in your head because he doesn't say stuff like a guy stopped him in the Clyde Tunnel and all that. But he's just great.
No lies about smelling the mince.
Oh, Danny McGrain. So I'm so glad he's here. I think it's going to be successful for as long as he wants to be here and as long as Celtic want him. I hope it's a long time because he is brilliant, and it's getting to the point where you can't imagine Celtic without him.
Celtic need to give the guy a contract, Stephen. I think Ange Postecoglou, he's got this rolling contract. He was asked after the game, do you see yourself? Me and you had a bit of a discussion about it. Do you see yourself leading the team out next season? And he was pretty non-committal on it. And I'm not suggesting for a minute I'm just going anywhere. It's just the facts of the information. So look, I'm not looking beyond that. And there's a million reasons why he might say that. As you said, if he says yes and then Manchester United come in the summer or whatever, then he ends up looking pretty foolish. And, I can understand that. But at the same time, there might be an element of, well, I've only got this rolling contract. Celtic are shown as much faith in me as I'm really showing in them.
He's knocked back the extra contract before, but
has he?
Well, he's not knocked it back. He said he doesn't need it.
That's if I'm going to say something that I'm going to say, I think Celtic should give him another contract. And contracts sometimes are only down to money, only down to what to expect. Andrew's still finding his feet. I think he's shown as much loyalty in Celtic as they are in him with these sort of non-committal comments because his contract runs, it basically renews every day. That's how rolling contract works. Would you like to see Celtic, I know Melly said incorrectly that he's knocked it back, but would you like to see Celtic make an approach?
I think it would be, these contracts are only really worth they're only worthwhile up until some club makes him an offer he can't refuse, in which case he's basically off anyway. Depending on the offer, that I don't know what form that could possibly take, but probably because the value of a contract like that would probably secure Celtic a little bit better as well. Because if he's approached tomorrow by name X club, you've just said Man United, that seems unlikely. But if for example, something was to change and that were to happen, a club of that level, then he would go, and Man United or X club would only have to pay up 1 year of his contract, which would be quite disappointing because he's worth so much more to Celtic than that.
But it's a show of intent from Celtic, isn't it? It's saying, look, if you sit him down during the summer and go, look, here's a 3-year deal for twice or 3 times the wages that you're getting paid just now. We are going to make sure in the summer you've got 40 million quid to spend and go and attack the Champions League. You get full say on everything you want to do because obviously we trust Ange to do that. Go forth and take it. That's the sort of commitment I want to see for Celtic. Now, if Ange knocks it back, Melly, that's a different story. We've asked, he said no. That's a completely different story. But I want to see Celtic, as you say, as a perfect manager. I want to see a statement of intent for the club. I want to see us do everything we can to try and keep Ange.
Yeah, I'd love him to sign a contract. I'm not meaning he knocked it back as in said, no, I'm not signing that.
He expressed lack of interest in that.
Yeah, he said, look, I work better when I've not got that certainty around my contract. And look, if that's the way he wants to do it, that's fine, but I'd love for him to be tied down for a longer contract. It doesn't really mean much, but it just means a wee bit more to us that you think he's going to be committed, and if he does go, we'll get a decent payoff. But I don't want to think about that right now. I just want to enjoy these moments. I think in the past, when we've been going through those trebles, we didn't quite, well, personally, I didn't take it in as much as I should have, so I'm going to do that this time. I think the league title last season meant so much to us, man, because of what we'd went through the previous year. You forget we were just getting back to the football at the start of last season, and then to go on and struggle at the start, and then to go on and absolutely destroy teams in the league. Playing the football we did was brilliant. So this season, it's been a completely... it's not even been a normal season because of the World Cup, but it's been as close to normal as we can get. To see Celtic go out there and just brush teams aside, get back to playing in the Champions League, something we hadn't done for a while. That's where we need to go for now. Just aim to be a Champions League team.
I'm going to ask you a difficult question. Which title win did you prefer out of the two that Ange has won? Because it's controversial, maybe, but I'm last season. Last season was one of the best title wins I've ever seen. Just everything that was involved, the sheer drama of it. This season's good. If Ange wins a treble, I will be delighted, because I think Ange Postecoglou deserves the name there amongst treble winning managers such as Neil Lennon and others. I think I'm glad Melly picked up on it. But I think that the sheer drama of last season kind of just pips it a wee bit for me.
Yeah, I don't really like to compare different titles because they're entirely within their own set of circumstances. It's like trying to compare trebles. I feel like trebles 2, 3 and 4 have been kind of lost in the fact that it's just a quadruple treble.
Yeah.
But at the time, that was a double treble. We had just won 6 straight trophies. So it's really...
No one talks about the double treble.
So when you look back on it, it's easy to just sort of compress them down into these sort of labels that we did. Oh, it was a quadruple treble.
It makes it sound like one trophy.
Yeah, exactly. And remember the jubilation after the treble as well. So I hear people talking about, what was your favourite treble, Martin? They're all amazing.
We should have made, do you know what we should have done after the quadruple treble? We should have melted down all the trophies and made one massive one.
Uni trophy, just an enormous, a gigantic Ange-sized trophy.
So next season you have to win everything to get it off us, otherwise we're keeping it.
But I get your point though, because of the drama of last season, how badly it started, how many players we had to bring in, how many players we'd lost the captain, we'd lost the guts of that team, some of our best players in the last 10 years, like Edouard and Ayer and Christie and all that. I mean, that's strong for Christie, but you know what I mean, he was in that group of players that left at the time. Even guys who were on loan who had contributed, El Yunusi had gone, some people on loan who had contributed less, like Duffy and Laxalt and all that.
Jojo.
But the fact was, these were all squad filler. We had to basically build a team from nothing. We turned up to European qualifiers with like Dane Murray playing and all that, and he's barely been seen since, but he got an injury. But I'm trying to just sort of paint a picture of where we were when Ange came in.
And that's why it was so dramatic, wasn't it?
Hadn't signed Carter Vickers yet. Starfelt came in, played that game against Hearts. So the drama of that season and to win it was absolutely incredible. But I don't know. I find it really hard to compare.
They're all sort of kind of all different movies, aren't they? It's like, I suppose the last season was like Rocky 1.
Right.
Last season was Rocky 1, you know, you're building up, and then this was Rocky 2. So it's
so you're expecting it to go pretty sharply downhill from here, is that what you're saying?
I seriously hope we're fighting Tommy Gunn next. Is that what we're up? Right.
Why do you go boxing again?
I don't know, it's always boxing. I know nothing about boxing. But the point is, this season the movie was full strength Rangers versus full strength Celtic. Let's see what you can do. And then we're sitting here some odd months later, staring down the barrel of our record points total, them not beating us at all, and a treble. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's within that you watch it and say, right, we've done all this, but we've beat them handily a number of times. We've beat them in the League Cup final, we've put them out the Scottish Cup, we've beat them in the league multiple times. So it's been great. It's been absolutely amazing. Last season had its difficulties, like me saying that, and I don't think I'll ever have as tense a watch as last year. Every game felt like must win. So this year you're maybe able to enjoy the games a bit more because you're just watching this football pretty much known in every game that Celtic are going to win, and that's just as good as getting the victory from the tense ones. We had a lot of last minute winners last year, very stressful, but this season the football on show has been brilliant. We've had a lot of new players come in as well, so while we are saying 2 in a row and all that, 2 for Ange, a lot of these players are getting this for the first time, so it's good to see, and we're just looking forward to the rest of the season, then a wee eye on next season as well, because it could get better.
Summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? Manscaped is here to ensure your body is ready for the wild with their game-changing full-body grooming and hygiene products. Don't be the guy at the beach with the Austin Powers chest hair, or it doesn't even have to be that, Stevie. You know that patchy way, sort of pasty, bit of hair on the shoulders. You don't want that either. If you grew some winter man tits, right, Melly, the least you can do is make sure they're hairless. It's time to get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with our code TIMS, TIMS.
Manscaped is dedicated to helping you increase your confidence and level up your full body grooming game with the Performance Package 4.0. The kit comes with the essential Lawnmower 4.0 waterproof cordless body trimmer and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your grooming routine. Whether you're trimming your chest or the treasure chest in your pants, this is the best trimmer on the market. You also get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, $39 value add, and the patented high performance reduce chafing Manscaped boxers.
Get 20% off all of this and free shipping with the code TIMS, TIMS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code TIMS at manscaped.com. Trim your chesticles, the besticles. And we saw one of those new players that you were talking about versus Hearts. Don't worry, we are going to get to talking about Rangers. Lots to talk about in that up-and-coming game, but we need to do the title-winning game justice. Yuki Kobayashi, Stephen started for Celtic. Patchy.
Yeah, I think that's the best word for it, to be honest. I don't want to be too reactive either way, because I think that tends to be what happens with new players, especially because you get quite excited about them. There's a rush to make your mind up about them either way, whether it's positive or negative after a couple of appearances. I even saw a couple of people writing off Rocco Vata after appearance. I'm like, well, let's relax, folks. Let's
he's
relax.
Not good enough for the first team. That's why he's a B team player.
So Kobayashi, it wasn't great. What I would say in his defence was that he was heavily involved. He played and completed the most passes in the game of either team, but that just means he is a Celtic centre half, really. I mean, by and large, Celtic centre-halves do complete the most passes in most games generally, because they are the guys that start the build-up, who bring it forward and pop it off out wide or into Callum McGregor or whatever the case may be. So he had a lot of the ball and completed a lot of passes. However, he did give away quite a few bad ones, and those are just numbers. See, when you say he completed the most passes in whatever percentage it was, probably low to mid-90s of completion, that doesn't matter if 4 or 5 of them are really quite bad and put you under pressure in the game. Just the bare numbers of it don't really tell the full story of how much they looked quite bad at the time.
There was a lot of off the ball stuff. No, off the ball, it wasn't so much his passing that worried me, Melly, but he looked rattled a lot of the time. Like, the Hearts players were putting him under pressure. He was getting himself caught wrong side. He was rushed off the ball, pushed off the ball. He wasn't strong enough. He looked like a guy who, now maybe this is exactly what happened, but he's already played against Hearts this season, hasn't he? So, but he looked like a guy who was not prepared for how up for it the opposition were going to be. And you think to yourself, well, this is one of the two. We've already made the joke about v Rangers, v Hearts, the teams that are going to give you the most difficult game, the most hostile atmosphere, the games you want to win. You should kind of know, and that worried me a wee bit, because he is a new player, but he has been here for some months now. He should kind of know what the manager's looking for, what the expectation is. I'm not writing him off, but that being said, if that performance carries on, if that's what we're getting, if that's the Kobayashi performance, I don't think there's any chance he's going to take a starting berth off of the 2 guys that are there already.
No, I don't think so, but we've seen it a lot with Celtic this season, guys that come in from the cold, which him, Ralston and Hatate have done. They've been out injured, came back into the team and just looked a wee bit off it. He really looked off it. I think we need to give him another game or 2 to see settled down. He has played a half at Tynecastle before, but that was a number of weeks ago, and then before that, not really made that much in terms of game time. So I'll give him that bit of rust that he had on there, but there's still basics he should be doing better in there. Some of the stuff he can do is good. You can see why that left-sided defender really suits Celtic, but whether he's going to be not number 1, but one of the main picks long term, I'm unsure. I've been unsure for a while. I know Starfelt and Carter Vickers have a great partnership, and that'll be difficult to to get into, but if Celtic are looking at it, if he was a better player, surely he'd be playing by now if he was better than either of those two. Not going to get a better player than Carter Vickers, but still plenty for him to improve on, plenty for him to work on. I'm just looking forward to seeing how he gets on. I think Tynecastle and Ibrox are going to be the two hardest games he'll play domestically, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on in them. And while Celtic weren't at their best, Hearts were decent yesterday. They made a game of it. I don't know how they managed to lose so many games in a row, because they seem to turn it up when they want to. So see how they get on for the rest of the season. Hopefully not good.
Aye, well, that's what I would say in mitigation of this against for Kobayashi, rather. It was that Hearts were good, and they did put Celtic under an enormous amount of pressure in the first half. Didn't really create an awful lot, really. Didn't create a huge amount of chances, but it did seem like we were being pushed back an awful lot, and maybe...
There seemed to be like a grudging admiration from Ange and Callum McGregor about Hearts' approach after the game. I noticed that Greg Taylor as well. A few of the players came out, I don't know if that was instructed, a few of the players came out and said, Hearts were good today.
Well, look, we do a lot of complaining on this podcast about the approach of certain teams against Celtic. So if a team does come out and attack you and try and put you under a bit of pressure, then I suppose that it's only right that you do give them a little bit of their sort of dues for that. I think
better if it wasn't them, but when
definitely, yeah. But I'm trying my best to park that to one side and look at the game for what it was. The Hearts were pretty good, and Kobayashi was probably among a number of players who looked a little bit flustered with it. So I don't know about Kobayashi so far. I think he's done enough in the very short amount of games. I think that's only his fourth start or something like that, fourth or fifth start. He's got this enforced run of games towards the end of the season, so we will learn a little bit about him. But I'm not in any rush to make any judgments either way, to be honest, because I think he was okay when Hearts were not bad in the game, to be honest.
Well, I just want to get his finger out. Basically, you know what I mean? He's got the Rangers game next week. We can discuss whether or not that's a dead rubber or a very, very massive, important game. What was it, Kenny Miller?
Kenny Miller said that a massive game.
A massive game. We can make our own minds up on that when we're discussing it. Red card. Another divisive red card. Now, we do a lot of Super Vario World on this podcast. We won't do Super Vario World this week. Because why? Because it was the correct decision. The referee in the game thought it was a yellow card, but didn't have the best view. Willie Coleman VAR went, I've had a better view of that, come look at your monitor. He went to have a look at the monitor and issued the red card following it, and for me it was clear as day. Maeda's through and goal, was it Alex Cochrane, is that the boy's name? Got wrong side, tripped him up, cleared him out as he was bearing down on goal for either a pass through to Kyogo, which I was reliably informed doesn't come into the penalty decision, but regardless, he's clean through on goal. Cochrane trips him up, makes it look like an accident, went, I didn't mean it. I don't know how much that comes into things. You still trip the guy up and ends up walking. Andy Walker's defence of it was, that's the game ruined then. And he never shut up about it. He never shut up about
Hearts
it.
were still definitely in it with it, but by about the hour mark, Hearts were still within a fairly decent chance of taking the lead in that game. They were still attacking. The game hadn't changed at all by the red card. It was still a fairly even encounter.
The full afternoon, Andy Walker, I swear he was almost the verge of, no point commentating in this game, is it? It's basically ruined.
That's valid if Hearts had gone down to 10 men and Celtic just blew them away. They were 4-0 up. They were like, we've taken advantage of this superior numerical numbers.
If that goal straight from the free kick had went in, you'd go,
well, it's ruined as a spectacle as a direct result of that red card. But Andy Walker didn't watch the game really. He was just like, this is garbage.
But it was my argument to Andy Walker. Well, it's Cochrane that ruined it. It was him that committed the foul. It's not, unfortunately, it's not Nick Walsh's fault or Willie Coleman. Believe me, we'd have a right good laugh at Willie Coleman. They made a balls of that.
The commentator's distaste for the rules doesn't come into the rule making factor really. It doesn't really come into the equation when trying to decide where to apply the rules.
He was so petulant about it. He was so petulant about it as well. And Andy Walker obviously has it in for VAR because they grassed them up. Maybe grassed the VAR up and then they grassed Andy Walker into sky. So maybe that's why he was getting his wee schneb in. But Melly, it was definitely a penalty. Definitely a red card rather.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought you were going to do your wee red or whatever.
Stephen doesn't like that game.
Terrible. Objectively so.
I thought it was a red card. When you seen it first hand, I could see why the ref gave the yellow, because you're just expecting him. But when you see the replays, he's in on goal no matter what. He's either getting a shot away or squaring it. So it's nothing to do with Cochrane or ruining the game. Andy Walker moan, was we gripe in the first half, not a gripe, he just said, oh, this game's had everything, end-to-end stuff, all it's missing is a goal. Then when somebody prevents a goal happening, he's raging because the guy gets sent off. He's in on goal. It happens on a weekly basis. These guys are, it's the rules, it's the way it is. We've seen it happen to us in the past. Remember the Beaton one, Ibrox, when he took out Morelos. This is what happens when you take somebody out when they're bearing down and goal, especially a guy with the speed of Maeda. He was away from him, saying there's a guy at the side of him. There's no chance you're catching Maeda, and that doesn't come into the reckoning anyway.
No.
I thought it was a red card, and look, VAR got it right. And look, lads, what happened when VAR came in the first game at Tynecastle? We didn't get a penalty, and we're always told these things even them out over the course of the season. Tynecastle.
Oh,
no decision.
Yeah.
Sliding doors.
And if you're going to apply Maeda's speed into the equation when trying to decide on the rules, you would have to put his finishing in as well.
I was going to say. I was going to say.
Is it a goal scoring opportunity? Trying to be balanced about it, it was a red card, but that's what VAR's there for. It took a look at a decision that probably wasn't made correctly at the time and then righted that wrong. But being totally honest about it, I wasn't really that bothered. I think, look, when you see the chance back, it wasn't a massively, like a gilt-edged chance. It's not as if he was about to pull the trigger. The ball was still coming down to him. The angle looked as if he had a left foot shot on, and then he was prevented from doing that by, I think, a tug on his shoulder, which sent him off balance. And you could tell that Cochrane was guilty because he immediately did that thing where you immediately act as if, how could my hands be on him? Because they're back here, they're behind my head, right? So it was very obvious that he felt some sort of guilt over that. I wouldn't have been bothered had it stayed a yellow card. I wouldn't have been all that furious about there being a robbery or anything like that. But that's irrelevant. My feelings on that are completely irrelevant. It's about the application of the rules and what VAR is there for. And I don't really see how anyone can be that upset about it, to be perfectly honest. I think it was a fairly standard call to issue a red card there.
Kyogo's always an ever-present danger for these teams, especially. I think there was a stat in the first half where he had the fewest touches of the ball of anyone in the first half of the game. But he's just always there, always lingering, always a danger. If a half chance, if the ball comes into that penalty area, if the ball ends up between the posts, you can bet your ass Kyogo's there. And I don't know how we got this finish off, because it's so crowded, so congested. He managed to make contact with the ball, hit it, and I think it trundled over. What's their goalkeeper called again? Xander Clark, that's right. It was some of his play acting was absolutely ridiculous as well. But anyway, after Starfelt tackled him. But it just ends up in the back of the net, and that's Kyogo's 50th for the season.
30th for the season.
30th for the season, 50th for Celtic.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Incredible, absolutely incredible from the guy. And if you're going to win the league, then you want to see him scoring. Kind of expected him just to score against Rangers last week, didn't happen, but to get his 50th the weekend was brilliant. The movement from him's incredible. Hatate as well, that run, that sort of third man run over the top and the ball across, and he just does this wee pause and then gets in and turns his body and finishes with the left foot. It's absolutely brilliant from the guy. He's been unstoppable this season. We've seen him last season. We knew what a talent we had, but we had those injuries that kept happening. None of that this season, and you just see what a player this is. All the chat last season as maybe Giakoumakis a bit. There's none of that this season. Kyogo is the main man. He's the best striker in Scotland, one of the best in Britain right now. He's unbelievable. We
have been quite lucky, Stephen, with strikers over the past. Just take this. We should just start doing everything from the life of the podcast. So we've been quite lucky with strikers. We've always had more or less a striker. Obviously, it's been give or take. Some seasons, some guys have been better than others, and we've not quite found it. So we've had obviously the Hoopers and the Lee Griffiths and all that sort of stuff. But Kyogo's just a cut above. He's a cut above most of the guys that have been doing it since we've been doing this podcast, and I'm just quite surprised. Or maybe I should frame this another way. I would be surprised if there's no interest in this guy in the summer, because he can do it at any level. Any level.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain of that. I think it's maybe a wee bit late for England, to be honest. I think he's 28
Germany.
now. Yeah, well, I could definitely see that. Italy, Germany, some of that. I think he would absolutely tear it up in those countries, to be honest. I don't know if I necessarily see a lot of English Premiership teams signing a 28-year-old from Scotland. So, and even then, it would probably be the sort of Van Dijk thing where he would need to go to a lesser club and then work his way up. So I don't think he'd be particularly interested in that. I don't know.
Do you think we'll struggle to hold on to him?
Well, it really
Get
depends.
Ange away, he's got
I know.
Kyogo away.
It's like, I mean, we're coming at the end of the season. All these guys, all these pulling up trees, all these trophies getting handed out, all these records being broken left, right, and centre. Immediately you go, God, how long can we keep this under? How long can we keep this under wraps?
It's an unfortunate byproduct of relentless success, isn't it? The way immediately our thoughts turn to stuff like this, but entirely possible. It's.
I mean, how long can you keep up under wraps a guy that's banging in 30 goals a season, 50 goals, and think of how much time he spent injured on the sidelines.
Kyogo's goal scoring record this season alone has been incredible. I looked back because I thought I'd kind of got it into my head that he'd been stuck on 29 for ages. 2 games it was. It was 2 games, and that now remains that he is the longest he's gone this season in terms of appearances is 4, and that includes having been taken off in the 5th minute against Rangers in the 4-0 game earlier this season, and then went straight to play Real Madrid immediately after. So some of the hardest games of the season were right in a row, and that is the longest. 4 games is the longest. Well, 3 games in 5 minutes is the longest he's gone without scoring this season, and he has finally got that 30. And 30, yes, it has been bettered by the likes of Lee Griffiths and Dembele, I think, hit 30 in one season. Larson famously got over 50 in one season. It has been bettered, yes, but by any standard, for a Celtic striker, 30 goals is an incredible season. And big goals, it's no coincidence that he keeps scoring the same types of goals as well. The positioning he takes up, this preternatural gift he has for the positioning and movement in the I read boy.
Pretty impressive, tell you.
The gift he has for taking up the right positions, making the right runs, it's not an accident at all. He keeps. We've joked as well about how Rangers just don't know he's there. He keeps arriving between the posts and scoring easy goals against Rangers because the defenders don't know he's there until he has already scored the goal. It's really quite remarkable. Whether it might be one of those ones. Remember I said about Hatate recently, he's kind of hit that weird age where I think, could we hang on to him for quite a while, because he's missed that sort of developmental stage where a team like, you know, it's usually Southampton and all that would take him and try and build him up and sell him on. He's kind of missed that. So Kyogo might be in the same boat.
We need to grasp onto something. I mean, Melly criticised me for getting rid of the players, and a wee peek behind the curtain here. Kyogo's averaging 1 goal every 90 minutes. So that's basically, he scores every time. Every game he plays. You give him 90 minutes, Kyogo will give you a goal, right? It's nuts. We talk about the guy almost persistently on the podcast. We need to find new angles and new ways to talk about him, you know? And the one I've come up with for this episode, Melly, is how do we keep this guy under wraps?
Yeah, I think we could be looking at talking about a new contract for him as well, couldn't we? If we're going to dish one out for Ange, that'll be 2 years into his deal. So
well, that's a good thing. That's what comes with the age, doesn't it? What do you want to achieve, Kyogo? You can go to Germany, go to Italy. There'll be options for you, wages, but maybe that's someone we can say, look, you like it here. Ange is here. You're successful here. Maybe we can give Kyogo the contract he wants. Maybe it's more likely that Kyogo would sign that contract than Ange.
Yeah, he looks like he enjoys himself here. Definitely does well, the dancing he does, and the guy is just unbelievable. The way he can.
That's not going to keep him at the club.
Yeah,
dancing. that guy's a cold-hearted, ruthless goal-scoring machine. A professional footballer.
Works hard and plays hard. So I love watching him play as well. Just the runs you see off him. I think I know it's hard, but I think if Celtic could get a better passer in midfield, we could see more from him, or even a passer at the back. I think we could see more from him. He's always making those runs. He's always there when we need him, and we've seen this season without the injuries that he's brilliant. He'll be up for the Player of the Year, rightly so. He could get goal of the season. The guy is incredible, and if Celtic have him on the pitch, Celtic always have a chance of scoring.
Is he going to be our Player of the Year? Well, we'll discover on our live show. Thank you to everyone who managed to get tickets. We announced our end of season live show. If you were there last year, sorry, it sold out in.
I know.
We
were unprepared for that.
We sold out the Tri-Gate in about an hour. Some of our friends and family didn't get tickets, completely unprepared. So I just want to take a moment just now to say thank you so much to everyone who picked up tickets and supported us. We're absolutely blown away by that one. It's pretty nuts. And we're having it the night before Celtic play the Scottish Cup final. So the night, what a way to kick off.
Exactly.
Potential treble. But before that, there's the business of Well, do you want to talk about O's goal, or should we skip right to Rangers? Because I'm itching to get a good laugh at Rangers in.
I've got it covered. O scored a goal. It's good. That's 4 for the season.
Yeah.
Pretty good
One
return.
touch finish, Stephen.
Yeah, one touch finish. Andy Walker was talking about that a lot during the game as well. And that's about us. Proceed.
Thank you. So Rangers, now Kenny Miller said this is a massive game. For who, Kenny Miller?
What planet is this a massive game?
For who is this a massive game? For us, it's not. I mean, we could send out the kids if you wanted to, the B team. It's not a massive game for us. For Michael Beale, he's basically already written off the rest of the season. What we're going to look at here is going to go two ways, Stephen, or one of two ways. Everyone says, you have said as well on this podcast, that performances dip once the league is done and dusted. However, listen to Michael Beale's comments the last couple of weeks, watching the way they've played last couple of weeks, watch them throw Alfredo under the bus and Kent not play and change his formation and Alan McGregor's been dropped. I think out of the two teams, they are the ones more likely to...
They're rattling.
Yeah.
Well, that bus driver is swerving all over the road trying to avoid the bodies that Michael Beale is chucking under it. It's been a spectacular fall in the last couple of days from the previously very confident Michael Beale. Now he's just out there blaming the players.
What was that comment he said about Morelos?
He said that
energy dropped.
He had changed the energy of the game, not in a positive way, basically. It's 2023 and Rangers have just realised that Alfredo Morelos is a fat mess.
Greg Taylor pointed that out months ago.
Yeah, look, that guy, I mean, that's entirely Michael Beale's fault, because I appreciate that they didn't have really much in backup. They had Cholak, who got injured as well, but lest we forget here that Morelos started this season in August being sent home from a European, I think, training session or training camp because he was overweight and his attitude was stinking. He went on to play 44 games this season from that point, despite being in the same shape that he started the season. I said at the time that I thought it reflected quite poorly on a manager to still be continuing picking a guy like that and a guy like Ryan Kent because of who they were rather than what they were turning in. Two guys who have visibly chucked it for them this season and are about to... They're away tying up deals. Yeah. They're away tying up their next moves, and that guy's still playing them. So now he picks, when the league is on, now he picks the opportunity to, again, absolve himself of any blame and chuck these players under the bus. It's pathetic from him yet again.
For me, Melly, it's starting to come away at the seams. The Emperor's new clothes for Michael Beale. The holes are starting to... He himself is starting to look rattled. He's starting to look frayed. It's a disgrace for me that these two managers, Ange and Michael Beale, were ever compared. That even to even approach discussing these two guys,
using Ange's name in the streets with that guy.
But even comparing these two guys is so disrespectful. This comment about lucky, right? Ange has mentioned it a couple of times. Michael Beale has desperately tried to row it back because he knows fine well how stupid he is looking now about this. And Ange absolutely nailed it, and it was something that we spoke about recently on a Friday phone-in podcast, and I don't know if Ange listens
anymore,
yeah, after he cancelled his Patreon. Got you. Ange has been a football manager for 25 years. He has done it in Australia, he's done it in Japan, he's done it at international level, he's reached heights with the Australian national team. He comes to Celtic and we've got a pipsqueak in Ibrox who's lucked. The only reason he's Rangers manager is because he was assistant to Steven Gerrard. That's luck. Yeah, that's what you call luck. Steven Gerrard took you from the Liverpool youth team to Ibrox, and the only reason Steven Gerrard got the Rangers job was because his name was Steven Gerrard. Yep. You don't get more lucky than that, coming up here on the back of Steven Gerrard's taxi and end up getting a job at Ibrox. And he's got the temerity to say, oh, well, I'm lucky, Andrew's lucky. There's nothing I like about you two. You couldn't be more different. And the fact that no journalist in this country called it out, nobody went, well, hold on a minute here. Nobody stood beside Andrew and went, well, this guy's actually done... We're lucky to have this guy. The amount that Ange has done in the game, we are lucky to have him. No, they're quite happy to compare them. So I don't see... I think Ange will... This will be another game that I think Ange will have his sights on. He will want to go to Ibrox and go, lucky. Have that.
I thought you were going to do your gadoosh.
Oh, I should have said gadoosh, sorry.
I think so. I think your attention turns to that game now, and Cal McGregor said that the players were back in training the day. They weren't even taking the day off today. So I think it's good to have this game on the back of winning this, so you can't have any let up. It's a massive opportunity. Either way, it's a kind of win-win for Celtic. If Celtic go out there and pump them again, it just makes them
Add that one to
Yes,
the
very sordid.
unpleasant
Are you
list
playing
of
some
clubs.
sort of weird sex board game with some listener you've got a bet on with?
simmer down. So if we go out there and beat them handily, it puts the doubt in Michael
Another one.
Beale again. How's that one?
Beat them
Oh,
handily.
I know, come on, Millie, hurry up.
Calm down, lads.
We're going to be focused on this fixture.
Oh, of course, but if we beat them, then it gets the knives out for Beale, doesn't it? I think it's taken a long time for even Rangers fans to realise this guy's talking rubbish, man. Like, if a manager came into Celtic and was talking like he was, we'd be like, look, mate, going to calm down a bit. We're miles behind here. We're trying to get up here, and you're sort of setting us back here by setting us up for a fall. Celtic will go out there, beat them, so that'll be, 5 attempts he's had now to beat Ange Postecoglou, and he'll fail. But if Rangers go out there and win, it'll be, oh, that's it. A couple of players, build a team around Cantwell. Once he gets his own striker in, once he does this and that, we'll be fine. Great. Because it's not going to work out well for this guy. Stephen's called him a charlatan. I think he is. He's all continuously throwing people under the bus, trying to preserve his own name. It's all nonsense, and I really hope he slips up next week and Celtic destroy them.
I feel like the lucky thing is going to be one of the famous things about this season.
Yeah.
When in
They
years
need
to
to
come.
play Lucky Man by the Verve. They need
There's
to
so
play
many.
that.
There's so
Yeah.
many options. There's Kylie Minogue as well. But the
Please
lucky
don't
thing.
give them the ideas of playing Kylie Minogue. They played Man Down Under. When I say they, I mean the Celtic Park DJ.
Ruined it. In fact, I think that ruined last season, so I'm going to write that
almost
off on my
did,
favourite. So, the lucky thing, you're right. I think it was a cast iron case of basically telling on yourself, because he said Ange is lucky, and then his rollback from that was, no, but I'm lucky as well. No arguments there, mate. No arguments there whatsoever. Ange got to this position through a lifetime of achieving things in football, and he appreciates the
Overachieving?
Yeah, he appreciates the position he's got to through a lifetime of dedication to football. That guy, as you've already described, has just walked into a job after 14 games in charge of QPR or whatever, and then says, "Oh, everyone's lucky around here, isn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all lucky. You certainly are, mate." So massively telling on himself. We were preparing for this podcast as well. We were putting on a little bit of press and all that to just get us informed and warmed up and all that. I cannot bear the sound of that guy's voice at all.
I don't know what it is. This is really petty, right? Really petty, and I know we're above that in this podcast. But it's to hear him, like the cadence of his voice. It's not that's John Lennon. I can't do it. But he's got all the inflections.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
That was Ringo Starr. He's got all the inflections are going the wrong way. I'm like, I don't know. You listen. Do you know what he sounds like? He sounds like somebody's playing back a tape of something in a tape player, but the battery's dying.
Yeah.
That's what he sounds like.
The tape started kind of warping, a wee bit melting a bit. Oh, he's an insufferable man, isn't he? But we had to play it because we had to find out what it was he was talking about. Kent and Morelos chucking him under the bus, because we thought that would be great fun to talk about, and it was. But yeah, as far as this game goes, massive my arse, Kenny Miller. Yeah. Well, cut that around. Just the deplorable language we've been using on this podcast. Just appalling. Kids watch this, but I hope not. But the occasion is absolutely categorically not a massive game. Now, as far as the derbies and all that go, there's always going to be an element to importance of it. But to cast this as any sort of massive game means that there's something at stake. It is 100% a dead rubber. All that's to play for is pride and points and stuff like that. The league is gone. So if them going, this is an attempt to frame this as the real quiz.
Yep.
This is going to be, if Rangers manage to go out and win this in a dead rubber against James McCarthy and all that, right? It will all quickly turn to, see, the gap's closed, so it's all about next season. That's all this is. That's the reason it's a so-called massive game for guys like Kenny Miller and Ricky Foster and all that.
Did you see what he was wearing? The worst dressed pundit in Scottish football strikes again. Listen, it's all to play for, Serie A Beale, but I don't think it'll be a dead rubber for Celtic. I think we're actually going to attack it ferociously. And that is all for this week's 20 Minute Tims. Thank you so much to everyone who joins us. Thanks to people who support us on Patreon, subscribe to us on YouTube. We'll see you next week.